Hi, my name is Glenn Weinreb, and today we're going to look at why the climate problem seems to be accelerating. But before we begin, let's do a quick review of past decarbonization efforts. A few decades ago, scientists warned the world must avoid warming more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrialized levels, or bad things will happen. They implied we are to crest at 1.5 degrees and then drop back down. Instead, we breached 1.5 in 2023, and we are not cresting. Instead, we are warming rapidly. To actually bring temperatures down, carbon dioxide emissions would need to be near zero at the time of cresting. Instead, emissions are at record highs and still rising. Reaching zero emissions takes decades. Therefore, to be at zero today, the world would have had to initiate decarbonization at least 30 years ago. In other words, our society failed to decarbonize starting several decades ago. Put in simpler terms, to solve the climate problem with decarbonization, we would have had to have done this instead of that. Now that 1.5 has been breached, we need to deal with climate tipping points. These are critical thresholds in Earth's systems that, once crossed, trigger abrupt changes. Like a row of dominoes, the toppling of one tipping point can unleash a cascade of effects, accelerating the pace of climate change beyond our control. This is sometimes referred to as runaway climate change, and it could lead to rising seas, less food production, mass migration, etc. Tipping points are triggered by higher global temperatures, as shown in this table. Therefore, more warming puts us at risk of tipping point activation. Now that many of our planet's systems are in motion, carbon dioxide is no longer our biggest problem. Instead, our biggest problem is accelerating changes. Acceleration is when the rate of change increases over time. Unfortunately, we see this with ocean currents, thawing permafrost, sea ice, and global warming itself. This is observed with actual measurements, so we know it's real. Due to acceleration, the next 30 years will see significantly more change than the previous 30 years. And a rapidly changing planet is a bad planet since it means we have less time to adjust. In 2022, the average global temperature was about 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrialized levels. 2 years later, in 2024, it hit 1.5 degrees. So it jumped 0.3 degrees in 2 years. For comparison, from 1970 to 2010, the long-term warming rate was 0.18 degrees per decade. Therefore, a 0.3 degree increase over several years is unusual and concerning. Okay, is this random noise, or are we outside of noise? Let's look at the data. The blue plot shown here is the average global temperature relative to 150 years ago. And the red line is a linear curve fit between 1970 and 2010. As one can see, deviations above and below the red line are similar during the 1970 to 2010 era. In other words, before 2010, we see noise of similar size on top of constant rate warming. But after 2010, deviations above the red line seem larger. This suggests global warming is accelerating and not due to noise. The recent acceleration was not forecasted by climate models, which suggests their understanding of the planet is incomplete. This, by itself, is a profound concept. It means scientists do not know when truly bad things will occur. And this means we cannot calculate what needs to be done and when to avert disaster. Not knowing what is going on is referred to as climate uncertainty, and it will be discussed more in videos 7 and 8. Okay, back to the issue of global warming acceleration. Why is this happening? Top climate scientist James Hansen believes this is in part due to less sulfur-based air pollution, and in part due to an underestimate of Earth's sensitivity to carbon dioxide. Sunlight reflects off sulfur-based air pollution and back into outer space, offsetting warming with cooling. Therefore, reducing sulfur in fuel to reduce pollution causes more warming. And we know sulfur reduction occurred over the last 10 years, especially in fuel used by ships. So, ironically, as we've reduced sulfur-based pollution to clean the air we breathe, we've also sped up global warming. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Some scientists believe global warming is accelerating and that climate tipping points may arrive sooner than expected. If they're right, this will probably be confirmed by the wider scientific community within the next few years. If and when that happens, urgency among world leaders will surge. The problem is, many decarbonization efforts are either ineffective or not cost-effective. Therefore, expanding them is not likely to have a significant impact. This suggests we need to identify cost-effective solutions today so that when we panic tomorrow, we don't run out of money before making significant progress. Fortunately, preparing to panic is relatively inexpensive since it only involves developing policymaking tools, decreasing the cost of green energy with R&D, and determining how to reflect sunlight without harm. We'll talk more about these items in future videos. Okay, that's it for me, and I'll talk to y'all real soon.